Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Sacred Sunday Sadhana. Allow yourself to sink into the spot you're in, both physically, mentally, in time and space. Just kind of arrive right where you are. Track your Annamaya kosha. Notice anything that's going on in your body and just notice it and then release that awareness, not creating any story or judgment about it or behind it. Check in with your mind, your Manomaya kosha. Notice the quality of your thoughts and emotions. Check in with your energy body. How's your energy? See if you can get into that witness state and just be in the witness body and explore that space. And if possible, maybe even dip into your bliss body, your Anandamaya kosha, and notice your true self. And breathing fully into your belly, grounding yourself down, letting yourself ascend into your beingness. So we ground down into humanness and we ascend into beingness to become human beings. Today's going to be another quickie, quick sadhana. I wanted to talk about vulnerability. So I love Brené Brown, and her name is kind of synonymous with that word, with vulnerability. I was just listening again yesterday to her TED Talk on shame. And I recommended it to a friend who's like often recommending TV shows to me, and his response was, that sounds like nothing. I don't want to, why would I want to listen to somebody talk about shame? And I was like, just listen. You might like it. It's better than TV. So I love what she says about vulnerability and about shame. And if you haven't checked those out, just give them a listen. They're like 10 minutes long, and you can do it while you're driving. Or, just any time that you can fit in a little quick listen. But the more and more that I thought about it, the more I realized vulnerability is, it's the fertile ground for everything that matters. Brené Brown talks about vulnerability being the birthplace of creativity and innovation. But I would even say further, for me, vulnerability is what I care about. It's the birthplace of connection, both to understanding myself and to connecting to other people. If we're just going to talk about the weather and sports and politics, I'm not interested, and we're not connecting. But if you want to tell me about a time that you wanted to leave this world, or if you want to open up to me and tell me about something that someone did that really hurt you, or if you want to tell me your deepest, darkest wishes and fears, then my heart can open to you and we can really see each other. Vulnerability is about being seen and being heard. And for whatever reason, we've developed this very different way that we are in the world. It's like the opposite of vulnerability. We've like built these facades where like we just show people what we want them to see. I'm sorry, Alexa, volume down. We just show people what we want them to see and what we think that they would perceive as cool. I feel like we all put on these aloof suits where we're like, it's fine, I'm fine, I don't care. I'm strong, I don't care, it's fine, what else, I don't care, it's fine. Does it look like I care? Like, how would it be if we were the opposite of that? Just like showing everyone, I care very much, I care so much, I care about what you're saying, I care about you, I care about myself. I'm really interested and curious about what you're talking about, and I'm hopeful that you might be curious about the things that excite me, So in that way, vulnerability can be kind of like flipping inside out, the normal mode of of communication with people. Vulnerability looks like, to a complete stranger, vulnerability looks maybe just like a real smile, like a genuine smile, and making eye contact. And like, without even saying anything, just really seeing that person as a unique human who has a whole story behind them and isn't just like there as a bystander in your story, but every person that you see actually has their own full life and their own story. And that can take some vulnerability just to have that awareness. And what vulnerability looks like when you're talking with friends and family and loved ones is being honest with yourself, and then having the courage to be honest with them about what you're really like, what you really like, about how you feel, about what hurts, what feels good. So just like all the other things we've talked about, being really vulnerable with yourself is the first step. You gotta like be really honest and really clear about what scares me, what excites me, what makes me curious, what makes me get up in the morning, what's my favorite smell, what's my go-to comfort memory. And then I'd say if you're already well-versed in being vulnerable with yourself and with those closest to you, I think the next part, the next like opening and unlayering, if that's a word, unflowering or flowering, the next part of that I think would be to kind of notice which responses have become habitual for you. Like, I've met some people in the last year who really love the idea of being vulnerable, and so they've got like this rehearsed list of how to be vulnerable. And with the rehearsal, you've already taken away the vulnerability. You know, if there's something that you exposed to someone that like felt really vulnerable, and so you just continue exposing that thing over and over and over, at some point it becomes really comfortable to say, and it's not vulnerable anymore. Then it's really vulnerable to say and to admit to the other person and to yourself, hey, you know what? I've got this thing. I've got this like rhetoric of vulnerability, and actually, I'm just repeating the same thing. So it's become stale and it's no longer vulnerable. And that in and of itself was a vulnerable thing to say. This is a very small scale, but in honor of just being vulnerable, I wanted to offer a couple of, peeks into my own life. This morning, I had 2 vulnerable moments in my bathroom getting ready. First of all, I'm going to school today, and one of my good friends asked me to wear a dress. So I put on my dress, and it's not zipped. I couldn't get it zipped. And there's a little bit of vulnerability takes courage. I'm working up the courage. There's a little bit of loneliness associated with not being able to zip up my own dress or have somebody in the house that I can say, can you zip me up? And it made me realize, like, this is a dress that I actually wear to funerals. And I thought, you know, this is the first time I've ever put on this dress that I haven't lived with somebody that could zip me up. And there's something like really sweet and reliable about having somebody behind you. You know, they've got your back and they're zipping you up. So that was a vulnerable moment for me to share with you. And then a sillier but also a vulnerable moment. I've got my electric toothbrush and I was brushing my teeth, and I've recently switched from the black charcoal toothpaste, which wouldn't have mattered, and you'll see in a moment, and now I'm using a white toothpaste that's specifically made for the microbiome of your mouth. But anyway, I'm doing my teeth, and like, for some reason, and this is not the first or even 10th time this has happened to me, I like throw my toothbrush onto my dress, and it's just like, so I got toothpaste all over my dress, but it's not even the toothpaste on the dress, it's more like, sometimes it's like it's my first time doing it, you know what I mean? Like, or I'll have a glass of water and like somehow just like do this like flailing motion and spill it all over myself, and I think, is this the first time you've ever held water? Is this the first time you brushed your teeth? So even those little silly moments that we are clumsy can be very vulnerable, and sometimes vulnerability is just being willing to make fun of ourselves, or just being willing to laugh at ourselves, and there's no malice behind it. I'm not berating myself for needing someone to zip up my dress. Even with all the yoga, like, the zipper is in a place, it's like in the one spot. There's probably maybe a soon, which is an acupuncture measurement. It's like 3/4 of an inch spot that I can't reach, and that's right where the zipper is, and I can't get it. And it's funny, and I'm opening up about that. And so I just want you to use that, sit with that, take what you can from that. Are you being vulnerable? When you speak to yourself, do you have a good relationship with yourself? Are you honest with yourself? Are you real? Or are you putting up a front even with yourself? When you speak to your closest friends and your family and your loved ones, are you being real? Are you letting them see you? Are you letting them see what you think would be perceived as what they want? Or are you doing what's easy because you just don't feel like having the aggravation? Just tune in and notice, because, and this is my opinion, so it might be completely different for you, but for me, there's no point to living, to connecting with other people, or to getting up in the morning if I'm not going to be authentically myself, if I'm not willing to express myself fully. I realize as I say that there's actually a lot of privilege there. Not everyone has a safe space to be themselves and to be honest and open with other people. Those particular people are probably not watching YouTube, but if you are, and if you know someone like that, then I think the first step is just finding that vulnerability with yourself, being really honest, being really clear about what you like, what you don't like, what's real, what's not real, what are you scared of. Get a flashlight and shine it into all those dark places and notice that it's actually a lot less scary and a lot less of a hurdle if you're willing to go there, you know? The way out is through. If you want to be in this beautiful place of just authentic expression and deep connection and joy and bliss, but there's this forest of indecision and shame and trauma in the way, you can't go around the forest. You can't go over it, can't go under it, gotta go through it. One little tiny tiptoe step at a time, one little whisper at a time. Take the journey, share with your friends, share with yourself. Maybe your homework today could be to just expose some vulnerability to one person, and maybe tomorrow to 3 people. See if you can do that. Tell somebody your fears, tell somebody your wishes, tell somebody something ridiculous that you did. that you electric toothbrushed your dress. Be with your breath. Give yourself plenty of time for stillness today. That stillness is where the wisdom comes in. When we're quiet, then we can hear what's really happening. With our eyes closed, we can see what's really happening. Thank you so much for tuning in. The authentic, raw parts inside me see the authentic, raw parts inside you, and I honor and cherish them. Namaste.